This week's episode is brought to you by Adam and Eve, your go-to for intimacy toys you'll never get tired of. I browsed their site and immediately started shopping. They offer 24/7 support, 90-day returns, and always discreet packaging. To celebrate 50 years in business, Adam and Eve is offering my listeners 50% off one item, plus free shipping in the US and Canada, and free rush processing. Some restrictions apply. Visit adamandeve.com and use code PLEASEME for this amazing deal. What will you get? Welcome to Please Me, the podcast bringing you bold conversations and big clit energy. And welcome to my Friday bonus episode series. I'm Eve, your host, on a journey from trauma to sexual liberation. Let's reclaim pleasure and close the orgasm gap one empowering conversation at a time. Today, I will continue the conversation about painful sex and talk about blood flow and how we can get more blood flow to the genital area. We explore the gold standard in treatment for decreased vaginal sensitivity and dryness, as well as erectile dysfunction called Acoustic Wave Therapy. I can't wait to tell you all about it. Did you know that podcasts rely on listener support to keep bringing you the content you love? For the best way to support the show, join me on Patreon for ad-free listening, early releases, bonus episodes, and exclusive content. See show notes for the link. I love that people are tuning in overseas in Pakistan, Ukraine, Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan. Please share this episode with a friend and help me spread essential sexual education around the world. This week in the US, my biggest listeners are in Atlanta, Seattle, Boston, San Jose, and Albuquerque. Be sure to share this episode and spread the love. Please Me is for mature audiences. Sit back, relax, and surrender to the pleasure of Please Me. Hello, and welcome to Please Me, the podcast that aims to destigmatize conversations about sex and sexual health by turning the sheets into our classroom. I also want to welcome you to the Friday bonus episode. Last week, we talked about the difference between vaginismus and dyspareunia, both of which are painful sex conditions. And these are conditions that I treat in my physical therapy practice called Inspire Health Physical Therapy and Wellness. I wanted to come back and talk to you a little bit more about the treatment that I do for painful sex. And most specifically, the treatment that I do for decreased vaginal sensitivity and dryness. So this condition goes hand in hand with the male equivalent, which is erectile dysfunction. So today I'm just going to cover the treatment that I do specifically for those conditions. So whether it be decreased vaginal sensitivity and dryness or erectile dysfunction. Both of those conditions are caused by decreased blood flow. When the blood is not flowing to the area, you're not going to have a proper blood flow to get either an erection for a man or engorgement for a woman. And a lot of people don't realize that the clitoris needs to become engorged in order to have penetrative sex comfortably. A lot of times, if people are not having proper stimulation of the clitoris, it doesn't become engorged, and this can cause painful sex. Also, when there's a decrease in blood flow and there's not enough lubrication to the area, that can also cause painful sex. So the treatment that I do in my practice is called Acoustic Wave Physical Therapy, Acoustic Wave Treatment. And what it basically is, little sound waves that are put into the tissue, okay? They're pinged into the tissue. And what they do is they break up any blockages in the blood vessels. And sometimes the blood vessels can form blockages, just like atherosclerosis, or if you have a heart condition, the blockages can go to your heart and cause people to have triple bypasses, quadruple bypasses, etc. So those blockages can also affect our genital area. When we have blockages in our genital area, we're not going to have enough blood flow, and then it's going to cause a decrease in the ability to have an erection for men. And for women, it's going to cause the inability to get wet. Okay, what happens when
the blood flows to that area is that the plasma from the blood seeps through the walls of the vagina, the vulva, and the clitoris, and it allows for the body to naturally lubricate itself. And that is something that our bodies naturally can do, and it's a beautiful thing. However, if you have blockages in those blood vessels, the ability for your body to produce that natural lubrication is not going to be there. So what the treatment, acoustic wave therapy, does is it breaks up those little blockages in the capillaries, in the small blood vessels surrounding the genital area, whether it be the vulva, the clitoris, the penis, or the upper layer or the vaginal opening, okay? And that's where the clitoris is engulfed around. And so what we want to do is break up those blockages so that the blood can flow and allow for that plasma to seep through into the vagina and on the vulva and clitoris so that we can create natural lubrication. Of course, you can use lubrication that you buy, and I definitely recommend that, especially if you plan on having extended periods of penetration, because over time, if you're having extended periods of penetration, just like anything else, it's going to evaporate, right? And so if you are having lovely long sex episodes, you are most likely going to have periods where you have some areas of dryness. And it's interesting because oftentimes there will be some patches of dryness that the man may not feel, but the woman can certainly feel. Adding lubrication is always a good idea. However, if you're having severe dryness that's causing you to have painful even walking or just being naturally uncomfortable throughout the day, that's severe dryness, and I recommend the acoustic wave therapy for this treatment, as well as if you're experiencing an inability to have an erection that's hard enough for penetration, or you're having premature ejaculation, which goes hand in hand with erectile dysfunction. And both of those conditions would warrant acoustic wave therapy. And acoustic wave therapy is actually the gold standard in treatment of erectile dysfunction and its female equivalent, which is decreased vaginal sensitivity and dryness, as I mentioned before. So what it does, like I said, is it opens up the blood vessels, and not only does it open up the blood vessels and break up those small little blockages in the blood vessels and allow them to safely flow out of the body, it also creates more capillary formation. Capillaries are the very teeny tiny little blood vessels that go to all of the cells in our body. So capillaries are extremely important. And if we form more of those through the treatment over time, we are actually creating more blood flow potential to the area. So those things will go hand in hand, breaking up the blockages and creating more capillary formation. And this is, again, excellent for treatments such as erectile dysfunction. It's also very good if you have a narrowing of the urinary pathway from the bladder out of the penis. Sometimes scar tissue can form on the penis, and this is very helpful to break up that scar tissue to create more blood flow and to allow the urethra that goes from the bladder out of the penis to open up. So it's a treatment for that as well. It's also a treatment for penile fracture. And if you've ever heard of this, it's a very painful condition that can be caused by the penis being erect and then having a trauma, a blunt trauma that sort of breaks a part of the penis. And so a lot of times what you'll see is that instead of the penis being straight, it becomes curved. And over time, scar tissue can form on one side of that and cause the curvature to become even more extreme. So acoustic wave therapy is actually used as a treatment for that as well. So I just wanted to come back on here and talk about acoustic wave therapy specifically because it is an excellent treatment for decreased vaginal sensitivity and dryness, which can cause painful sex in women, and is also an amazing treatment that can help men with erectile dysfunction, premature ejaculation, or any of the other conditions that I mentioned before. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. And if you find this episode interesting, If you know someone who has ever experienced any of these conditions, please share it with them. This is one of those episodes that I think is super useful. And if you would like to come in and see me for a treatment, you can reach out to me on pleaseme.online and send me a message on the contacts page, and I will certainly get back to you. This is what I do in my practice, Inspire Health Physical Therapy and Wellness, and I am here to help. Thanks so much. Until next time.
For ad-free listening, exclusive bonus episodes, Eve's library of archived webinars, and early access to new releases of Please Me, become a monthly supporter on Patreon. Simply open the Patreon app on your phone, search for Please Me, and subscribe today for premium content and more. Cheers to finding your pleasure and big clit energy.